This is going to mean real business for all the gangs before long. The big bosses have just held a national ultraphone council. It was decided that America must organize on a national basis. The first move is to develop sectional organization by zones. I have been made super boss of the Mid Atlantic zone. We're in for it now. The Hans are sure to launch reprisal expeditions. If we're to save the race, we must keep them away from our camps and plants. I'm thinking of developing a permanent field force along the lines of the regular armies of the 20th century you told me about. Its business will be twofold: to carry the warfare as much as possible to the Hans and to serve as a decoy to keep their attention from our plants. I'm going to need your help in this. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is this: amazing and impossible as it seems, there is a group, or perhaps an entire gang, somewhere among us that is betraying us to the Hans. It may be the Bad Bloods, or it may be one of those gangs who live near one of the Han cities. You know, 115 or 20 years ago, there were certain of these people's ancestors who actually degraded themselves by mating with the Hans, sometimes even serving them as slaves, in the days before they brought all their service machinery to perfection. There is such a gang called the Nagras up near Buffalo, and another mid Jersey that men call the Pineys, but I hardly suspect the Pineys. There is little intelligence among them. They wouldn't have the information to give the Hans, nor would they be capable of imparting it. They're absolute savages.
Just what evidence is there that anybody has been clearing information to the Hans? I asked.
Well,
He replied.
first of all, there was that raid upon us. That first on ship knew the location of our plants exactly. You remember, it floated directly into position above the valley and began a systematic beaming. Then the Hans quite obviously have learned that we are picking up their electrophone waves, for they've gone back to their old but extremely accurate system of directional control. But we've been getting them for the past week by installing automatic rebroadcast units along the scar paths. This is what the Americans called those strips of country directly under the regular ship routes of the Hans, who, as a matter of precaution, frequently blasted them with their disc beams to prevent the growth of foliage which might give shelter to the Americans. But they've been beaming those paths so hard, it looks as though they even had information of this strategy. And in addition, they've been using code. Finally, we picked up 3 of their messages in which they discuss, with some nervousness, the existence of our mysterious ultraphone.
But they still have no knowledge of the nature and control of ultronic activity, I asked.
No,
Said the big boss thoughtfully.
they don't seem to have a bit of information about it.
Then it's quite clear, I ventured, that whoever is clearing us to them is doing it piecemeal. It sounds like a bit of occasional barter rather than an out and out alliance. They're holding back as much information as possible for future bartering, perhaps.
Yes, said Hart. And it isn't information the Hans are giving in return, but some form of goods or privileges. The trick would be to locate the goods. I guess I'll have to make a personal trip around among the big bosses.